Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming out tonight for our City Council meeting. And for me, it's a very special evening because, as you know, I'm in transition to a whole new career. And I haven't been here for a little while, so you have to bear with me a little bit. But it's very exciting to see that the city has embarked on some of these initiatives that we know will lead Long Beach into the next really millennium of good health and prosperity. And that tonight we had a wonderful press conference on our position regarding cigarette smoking. And as you know, we banned cigarette smoking on the boardwalk and the beach for a number of reasons. And one of them, first and foremost, is that it's not good for people. And so we're glad that we've taken the next step, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But apart from that, you know, these are areas that we as citizens, as a municipality, feel very strongly is the position that our city needs to take. This and various other things like doing Authorizing and extending the deadline, these are things that are critical to this city. With that, I just want to remind everyone that at the end of the meeting, if you want to sign up for good and welfare, we need to do that during the meeting and have that turned in before the meeting is over so that we can hear what you have to say. And believe me, we do want to hear what you have to say. And with that, we know that we need to be reminded, all of us, that it's 3 minutes that we have to be able to tell us what it is that's on your mind. These are very important things that we know need to be brought to our attention, and we do need to hear what you have to say. And then last and really not least, decorum. It's so important to be able to respect one another here, no matter what positions people take. And of course, that we use the right language, that we not do crosstalk, that we not boo or whatever it is, because we want to respect everyone's right to be able to come here and express their feelings and their concerns. With that, I'm going to turn our meeting over to Appropriation.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach on Tuesday, December 5th, 2017 at 7 p.m. We'll have a roll call. Councilmember Diamond.
Here.
Councilmember Mandel.
Here.
Councilmember Moore.
Here.
Vice President Eramo.
Here.
President Torres.
Here.
Let the record indicate the presence of City Manager Jack Schnirman and Corporation Counsel Robert Agostisi. Now the salute to the flag.
Again, welcome everyone, and we're going to begin our meeting with our city manager's update.
Okay, Saturday, November 25th was Small Business Saturday, a day dedicated to supporting small businesses around the country. The city worked with the Chamber of Commerce to promote it, and we encourage residents and visitors to shop and dine locally. We're continuing the acceleration of road resurfacing in our community. Last month, we completed repaving projects on Beach Street and East Chester Street, along with the complete repaving of the parking lot at the Martin Luther King Center with improved drainage. East Broadway was also repaved between Pacific and Maple Boulevards. Thank you for your continued patience as we make these critical investments in our infrastructure. Thank you to everyone who attended and participated in the Christmas tree lighting on December 1st in Kennedy Plaza and the first ever Yuletide Market on Saturday, December 2nd, featuring Arts in the Plaza pop-up shopping was a big hit as well. Had a great event and a terrific turnout. Looking ahead to next week, we hope everyone will join members of the Long Beach synagogues in cooperation with the City of Long Beach in lighting the Grand Menorah in Kennedy Plaza, Wednesday, December 13th, 6 p.m. There'll be music, coffee, jelly donuts, Hanukkah guilt, and hot potato latkes. This Thursday at 11 a.m. at Veterans Park, the Joint Veterans Organization of Long Beach will be hosting its annual ceremony to honor the more than 2,400 soldiers, Marines, and seamen who lost their lives in the attack on Pearl Harbor. City of Long Beach, in cooperation with the Long Beach VFW Post 1384, will host the 4th annual Jingle Bell 5K run for Toys for Tots this Friday, December 8th on the boardwalk. Registration begins at 4 p.m. at the VFW, located at 675 West Park Avenue in Long Beach. The race will begin at 6 p.m. Shuttle buses will bring participants to and from the boardwalk. Santa hats or jingle bells will be given to the first 100 registrants. And please remember to bring a new unwrapped toy to donate to the Marine Corps Toys for Tots Drive. Holiday costumes and lights are encouraged. The city will hold its annual Children's Holiday Show this Saturday, December 9th, featuring Once Upon a Snowflake. The show starts at 11 a.m. sharp in the Long Beach Middle School auditorium. Tickets are on sale at the Rec Center for front desk at $5 each. Santa Claus will hand out presents and pose for a picture with all children in attendance after the show. The show is guaranteed to entertain the whole family. The event is open to all families who reside in the Long Beach School District. For further information about the holiday show, feel free to contact the Recreation Center. And finally, the Long Beach Electric Light Parade will take place on West Beach Street beginning at Ohio Avenue this Saturday, December 9th. Come on down and check out the antique cars, trucks, fire trucks, floats, and bicycles wrapped in Christmas lights for this festive holiday parade. Floats line up at the Sands parking lot at 5 p.m. and step off at 6:30 p.m. There'll be parking available at the Long Beach Catholic School lot with shuttle buses to the West End. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager Schnirman. You know, I was very impressed when I visited the Lindale School and to see the work that's been done there, the lighting on the Hudson Boulevard. It's just absolutely magnificent work. I want to commend Commissioner Miranda for that. And with that, I'm going to turn on meetings and we can begin. Mr. Frazier.
Our first item this evening is the public hearing for an ordinance authorizing financing for the cost of payment of settled claims against the city in the matter of Marshall Starkman versus City of Long Beach, stating the estimated total cost thereof is $656,000, appropriating said amount therefore, and authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $656,000 bonds of said city to finance said appropriation.
All right, so in 2010, Mr. Starkman was sunbathing on the beach when he was hit by a police SUV. His injuries included broken ribs and a broken back. He was paralyzed in traction, had to teach himself how to walk again and perform basic bodily functions. In 2014, his case was tried by counsel assigned by our insurance carrier. The jury returned a total verdict of $2.2 million, which we considered a win at the time, because that figure actually fell within our policy cap. In other words, after the trial, the city was obligated to pay nothing. Mr. Starkman appealed that verdict, claiming that it insufficiently compensated him for his injuries, and apparently the appellate division agreed with him because it took the exceptionally rare and unusual step of awarding him an additional $1 million. In the alternative, the appellate division gave us permission to retry the case. What's on the agenda tonight is the portion of that additional $1 million that is not covered by our insurance policy. So I can't really begin to describe how rare this additional award was. Trial courts rarely disturb jury verdicts, let alone appellate courts who routinely defer to the trial courts. And while we respectfully disagree with the way that this case was decided on the law, it's not hard to understand the appellate court's actions on a human level. Candidly speaking, this is a very low verdict. And that's why it's absolutely essential that we pay this award and simply move on. If we don't, some very bad things will happen. We will be held in breach of contract because Mr. Starkman very graciously extended our time to make payments so as to coincide with our usual bonding cycle. We typically bond in January. Much more daunting, however, is the prospect of a new trial, because if that happens, Mr. Starkman will be given the opportunity to hit the veritable jackpot. And there's virtually no risk to him because the appellate division has already made it clear that they value this case at no lower than $3.2 million. In other words, that's Starkman's base. His award only stands to increase from there. $5 million is easily within reach. $10 million, that's even possible too, maybe more. While there's no way for me to say definitively what will happen if we retry this case, I can say this. It will never be less expensive to pay this judgment than it is right now. This is as cheap as it will ever get for the city. For those and other reasons, I'm not even going to make a legal recommendation as I usually do to you. I'm simply going to advise the council that it absolutely must pay this judgment in order to avoid the dire legal and financial consequences, which will definitely, I guarantee you, will ensue if we don't.
Thank you, Mr. Agostisi. You know, although it's with heavy heart that we have to make this decision, because any price on human suffering is a horrendous thing. I mean, the fact is that it was an accident, and we are very sorry that that happened. We realize that the injuries are going to be with this gentleman for the rest of his life. I think we need to well, first of all, we need to properly look at exactly what this is going to cost us, but the fact is what it is that we would be paying. And I guess my question is, what is the interest rate that we're going to be paying on this bonding? Do we have an idea?
I couldn't say. I don't know if the
Okay.
controller happens to know.
Do we have an idea just for the record?
So given the recent bond upgrades and improvements that we made, the last borrowing that we did in September was about like 1.2%. So very low.
What was that again?
1.2%.
1.2% interest on this. And for how long a period will this?
This is going to be for 5 years.
5 years.
What is the actual amount? How will the money be allotted then? You're going to divide that amount?
It's amortized over 5 years, the amount, so that way we can plan for it and budget for it going forward. And that's the most appropriate way.
So will this be an annual allotment, or are you going to break?
It will be included in our annual debt service payments.
Okay.
If I can just ask one question. I recognize that this has happened. While this might have been the first time it's happened, it happened since. Have we taken any steps as an administration to ensure that this doesn't happen again? And I recognize that accidents do happen, but we can also take steps to ensure that our beachgoers are safe. And what, if anything, have we done?
Earlier this year, we eliminated police SUVs from the beach except in bona fide emergency situations.
Thank you.
Any other comments, Mr. Mandel?
Mr. Agostisi, I know you said you weren't saying this is a legal opinion, you're just saying that you were strongly suggesting the council pass this, but I'm asking, is it your legal opinion that this is the proper course of action?
Absolutely. I don't think there is another course of action. Like I said during my presentation, this is the least expensive. This judgment will never be repaired.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the council? Any comments from the public? Yes. Welcome, Mr. Arcese. It's good to see you.
How you doing? Good evening, everybody. My opinion.
State your name for the record.
Patrick Arcese, 225 West Park Avenue, 52-year resident of Long Beach. I couldn't agree more with you, sir. This should be settled immediately, this claim. Okay? You retry this, and a jury makes a decision, it could go as high as $10 million, and you got a leg to stand on, and the taxpayer's got to foot the bill. This is a tragic accident on both parts. The police officer didn't mean to strike this person, okay? And he's got some suffering about this, but I think that's fair, and he's got to deal with it. But I think it should be a closed case because it's going to spend more taxpayers' money to retry this. Now look at the numbers you get. But I'm telling you, 80% of the cases on a retrial, something like this, the award jumps way up, over $6 million. So I think it should be settled and ended. Okay? And everybody got to be a little more careful. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arcese. This point was very well taken. I think we have another gentleman. Please step forward first. And again, we just need your name. I hate to be repetitive, but we need your name for the record. And welcome.
Good evening, Matthew Adler. My question is with the insurance. Since your current policy did not cover this, have you guys looked into getting a bigger policy? So,
We have, but we're also constrained by our financial realities too. We did actually increase the policy to a certain extent after this, but I don't have the exact numbers on how much.
think of the cost analysis, is it going to increase more than God forbid happens again, the payout for that? Just something to think about.
Well, we increased our policy cap. That's what we did.
Oh, you did?
We did back. This was just years ago.
But I'm saying, since this particular
At
case.
least 3 years ago, I said. Yeah.
Okay, so God forbid, let's say we went back and we had the current policy now would have covered the settlement.
Oh, I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Adler. It's a good suggestion. Any other comments from the public? And again, officially and on my behalf, to the Stark family, we are so sorry of this tragic accident that happened. Thank you. We're going to move on. Okay, and with that, folks, I'm going to close the hearing.
Our second public hearing is for the purpose of giving citizens an adequate opportunity to publicly present their views on the application of the owner of 350 East Market Street for the designation of this property as a city landmark.
Okay. Okay, to respond to this item, we asked if Commissioner Kemmons is here. I don't think I've seen him. I see him. Yeah. I realize I need new glasses again. Good evening, Commissioners. Good to see you. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Yes. Very good. Very good. Okay.
Good evening. Commissioner Kemmons, Building Department. First off, the only one that can apply for a landmark designation from the city of Long Beach is the owner of said property. In this case, the owner did make application, made all the proper notices. It went to the Architecture Review Board, who is the landmark commission, and they have sent it forward to a public hearing for the city council where we are now. Our code of ordinance spells out that the idea of doing a landmark of a property is to protect and enhance the landmarks which represent distinctive elements of Long Beach's historic, architectural, and cultural heritage. This is a gateway for anybody that wants to move further on in the process. There is the local landmark designation, then you go to New York State, and then beyond that you go federal to national register. For anybody to move forward, they would need this designation first. We're like the gateway. We do have, I believe, 2 properties that are on the national register, and we do have several that are on the state register. This is the first step to that occurring. It's a process, very honestly, in my 16 years now as building commissioner, this is the first one I've dealt with. We haven't had one in quite a while of somebody wanting to make this move. There are very few benefits becoming historical other than really getting that gold plaque on the front of your house. There are some grant opportunities locally and then on the state and federal level, but the codes on a landmark or a historical building become so much greater. They're handcuffed on what they can do in renovations to their house. There's a whole different code that a property like this would be subject to. So there aren't that many benefits other than for it being landmarked and being proud to be property. And in this case, they believe this house that I checked the records today was built in 1923.
Very good. Thank you for that explanation. And we're glad that the owner, if you could step up, ma'am, if you could state your name for the record.
Kathy O'Leary, 350 East Market Street.
Yeah, I wanted to add that Miss O'Leary is my neighbor, and she drives by my house every day. And we're very proud. You are aware of the restrictions that the commissioner mentioned about the kind of renovations you could do to a landmark. It has to stay within a certain code. You just want to make sure that you understand that because there are limitations and you have to stick to its original design.
Yes, I am aware of that, and without being landmarked, I've been adhering to enhancing the history of the house anyway.
Yes.
Even with Sandy repairs, I insisted that they be done matching the brick color and the mortar and the style of roof of the period. So
Yes.
I don't personally plan to do anything drastic to the house, so it's irrelevant to me.
Okay.
So I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. Are there any comments from the council on this application? Any comments from the public?
I would just like to
Yes,
ask
please go ahead.
if there's anything else you want to tell us about why you wanted to do it, or if there's anything you want to say to us.
Well, I have to say, there were twin houses next to each other.
Yeah.
And I watched that house go to foreclosure, and I watched the builder turn it into a McMansion, and the history is lost. I think they saved a patch of bricks so they didn't have to pay more taxes or get off my sewer system, which is a whole other story. But, it's a shame because there are so many historic homes here and they're so varied. I think that if we don't make an effort to preserve them, there's a greed factor. There people are just going to flip them. And the one next door to me sold for $650,000 6 years ago. So today, you could probably get over $1 million. And where is the history of the city? It's gone. So that's my motivation, is partially just to, record the history of Long Beach and not let it, all become modernized.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leary.
Thank you. Just want to say that I had the opportunity to read a little bit about the house, and I was really intrigued by the intricate moldings and the fireplace and all of the other things that were described in the application. So thank you for being thoughtful in terms of preserving the history here in the city of Long Beach.
Thank you again. Thank you for coming. Okay. Okay, I think we're going to... If there is a public comment, yes, please come forward. Welcome. I just realized who it is, and it's good to see you.
See you too.
Welcome.
I would say the same thing.
Yes.
Anyway, earlier today, I actually taken, I'm sorry, Jim Kirkland. I had taken the time to write out a definition from Webster about the definition of landmark, but Mr. Kemmons has pretty well covered that aspect. So what I would like to say is that I happen to own a SHPO house, and that's not the reason I'm up here. What I'm up here to say is that to be considered landmark, I think something has to be unique and distinct about the property. And we have a lot of homes here in town that fill that void, and a lot of homes that have been improved upon and brought back to their original luster. Unfortunately, as a member of the Historical Society as well as one of the board members, I can tell you that we've lost so many of them that there's not enough left to create a historic district. We have the area right by the museum, which is landmark because of the red bricks, but we discussed that trying to preserve it to a greater extent, and there's just not enough left. But to get to the other issue that I'm concerned about is I've been by the house 350, and there are other homes in this town that are much older, much more unique in nature, design, construction, etc. And I think they should come before any house that's built maybe 20 years, 30 years after those homes. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the council. And I have nothing against the owners of the current house.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for that comment. And again, we also realize how important it is to keep our historic homes intact. Mr. Arcis, you're certainly welcome again, sir.
I am.
Oh, yes. Patrick, it's good to see you again. We know that you've worked on the Grenada Tower.
Go.
Yes.
Glenn Torres knows that. A lot of people don't know that. I convinced two investors in 1982 to come here to purchase Granada Towers on Riverside across the street from the post office. built in 1929. It was purchased by Don Rickles. He owned 2 buildings here. He lost that one because he found out Long Beach wasn't getting gambling, and we purchased it for $50,000. And historical landmark taxes to get it, okay? You have to leave it all original. If this woman needs some help, I'll be happy to help her, okay? And I ran that project from day one. It was all boarded up. I pulled it off. I carved the original doors I found in the basement. And all the wood carvings are missing. They do tours there. I carved those wood carvings in the basement on my home while I was working on that project on the weekends. Those are wood carvings I carved out of there from the original building because the wood carvings were rotted. But there's a lot of requirements on the historical landmark tax. The city first thought they were going to get big money. At that time, the city officials didn't get, until they came over, what's going on? I said, this is New York State inspection, not Long Beach. It's a historical landmark. A lot of detectives, Long Beach police officers asked to come in there, let them in there. And a lot of things we even had to put the original water tower back, which I sent to Tennessee, for them to refurbish and bring it back. Okay, so if this woman needs my help, I'll give her my phone number. And you have to keep these old homes, okay? So I'll be happy to help her. I'm retired, I'm done, so there you go.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you. We do recognize you as one of the premier.
No charge. Zero. And I won't write it off on my taxes.
No. Well, we do recognize the work you've done, Patrick, over the years in Long Beach, and we do see that you are truly a premier contractor. And again, we welcome.
I built baseball stadium, Sears Tower, Houston Airport, International, many buildings. St. Louis.
Okay, thanks again. Yes, we have someone else. Please come forward. Thank you. Again, we just need your name for the... Okay, Nancy, good to see you.
After the last city council meeting, I think this particular item was on the agenda to be brought up for this meeting. The next morning, I went by the house.
Hold the microphone down.
The next morning, it was on the agenda, the previous city council meeting, I believe. And I didn't know what historical house was on that block.
Yeah.
So I drove by, and I know it's on your block across the street.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it already had a plaque, a historic plaque on the house. And I don't understand if it was just mentioned in the last city council meeting, and now it's being possibly voted on today, how that plaque got there.
So I think the homeowner can answer, but I think the Historical Society in Long Beach does plaques, which are not necessarily official with the state. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was the only reason.
So that's just the Long Beach Historical Society in Long Beach that will issue them, but it's not the official designation through the state.
Yeah. That's the explanation,
plaque, right? You'll get an official plaque if.
Yeah, they research the home, and then they give you the research, and then the owner pays to have a plaque put on. That was done, I believe, 2008.
Before Hurricane Sandy.
Yes.
And, okay.
Yeah, it's very interesting because they're the bungalows that were built by the same contractor back in the 20s, built I think about 6 or 7 of them. One of them was mine also. But what we did was that we kept expanding our home over the years. We've been there almost 50 years now. And the latest is that we raised the home, so it doesn't qualify anymore. But this is why it's so important to understand that there are restrictions that as a officially designated historical home that will now come into play. And it's important to fully understand that. Okay. Are there any other comments, folks, from the public on this application? Okay, with that, I'm going to close this hearing. Thank you.
And our third public hearing is for a local law amending subpart C of related acts related to the charter of the city of Long Beach regarding a local law to prohibit the sale of tobacco products, liquid nicotine, and electronic cigarettes to persons under 21.
Well, I think that this is one of the reasons why I decided to come in tonight was that this decision that the municipality of Long Beach is taking is historic. And with that, I'd like to invite both Dr. Fagan and Dr. Shea, if they're still here, to the mic.
Which Dr. Shaw? There are two.
You're right. I think that also, as you're coming up, I think we need to hear the details of the actual legislation. Mr. Agostisi, maybe you could just read it to us.
Sure. The legislation very simply is designed to increase the minimum age of tobacco sales, including all e-cigarettes and related products, to 21 within city borders.
Which is one thing that New York City has already done, and other areas on Long Island as well. And Mr. Eramo, earlier today during our press conference, mentioned that Long Beach has become the place to buy cigarettes for kids. And we don't want to be known as that, you know. Dr. Fagan, maybe you can start, give us a little background.
So, just before Dr. Fagan speaks, I just wanted to, on behalf of the council, thank Dr. Fagan and both Dr. Shahs for bringing this to our attention, that we were behind the curve a little bit on this one. Long Beach does like to lead, and we usually do, and unfortunately we were a little behind on this. So we really appreciate you bringing it to our attention and all your work on really protecting the next generation of children. So with that, Dr. Fagan.
Yes. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is David Fagan, 180 West Olive Street, Long Beach. I've lived in Long Beach for 23 years. I'm a practicing pediatrician at Cohen's Children's Medical Center. And I want to congratulate the City Council for taking this issue on. Suffolk County passed the measure in 2014. New York City passed the measure in 2014. Westchester County has passed it. Rockland County has passed it. And the state of New Jersey has passed it as well. That's just locally. The reason why this is critical is 90% of lifelong smokers began smoking before the age of 18. So whatever we can do policy-wise to move the age to purchase tobacco to a later age will, and it's been shown in studies, will reduce the prevalence of smoking. Smoking amongst youth is at an all-time low, but right now we're facing the dangers of electronic cigarettes and people who think that these electronic cigarettes are safe. You should know that contained in the vapor are many carcinogens. Antifreeze, the same chemical that's in antifreeze, has been found in the vapors of electronic cigarettes, as well as formaldehyde and many other carcinogens. And everything that I'm telling you tonight, and Dr. Shah will tell you, this is fact. This is not politics. This is not opinion. This is science. And so, thank you for the opportunity to address the council.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Shah?
Hi, Shuttle Shah. I'm Vice President of New York Chapter 2 of the American Academy of Pediatrics, of which Long Beach is encompassed. I also want to thank the legislature and the town council for taking what you appropriately said is a historic step in the protection of our children. Tobacco is, and tobacco addiction is the #1 preventable cause of death, period. In the current day and age, electronic cigarettes are becoming the new gateway drug. And that's why I think it's so important that there's legislative foresight in including electronic cigarettes. Articles that were published actually just this month show that youth who are exclusively using electronic cigarettes have a high percentage of transitioning into conventional tobacco. As Dr. Fagan said, we know that most children who begin smoking before the age of 18, and those that begin smoking at the age of 14 and 15 obtain their cigarettes from 18-year-olds. So this law is the single most effective public health measure, short of raising taxes on cigarettes, right, to reduce youth smoking. And I think it's very important that not only that we take this moment 1 second to just understand that, but to also understand how effective that measure is. Data from Needham, Massachusetts, which is the first county to pass tobacco 21 legislation, saw that the rate of youth tobacco smoking went down approximately 50% within a 6-month period, and did so without a significant economic impact on any vendor who sells traditional or electronic cigarettes. So we are not paying an economic price, and towns are not forced to choose between protecting their children and economic prosperity. So with that, if there are any questions or anything like that.
Thank you. And I know you might have a comment also. You're welcome.
Dr. Shefali Shah, I'm an ear, nose, and throat physician in town. My practice focuses mostly on adults. So as Dr. Fagan and Dr. Shah mentioned, I'm the one that people see when it's sort of too late, when they've been using tobacco for 50 plus years. And I'm also the one in town who's giving them that unfortunate news that now they have head and neck cancer and they're going to need radical surgery or invasive therapies. So I look forward, and I thank the City Council for taking this very progressive measure so that I don't have to give that unfortunate news to my patients and their family, which is something I have to do way too often on a weekly basis. So I applaud the City Council for protecting not only our youth, but I get to see that youth as they transition into young adulthood and then come back to Long Beach, as we all know it's the place to be, into their adulthood, so I can help them, live a happy, long life. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Shah. Thank you, all three of you. And are there any comments, any other comments from the council?
Sure. I just want to state for the record that we did receive some letters from some associations in support and against, and I just wanted to name a few that we got from Mr. Phil Consenberg from the Smoke-Free Community. He's a Smoke-Free Community Advocate. Michael Seelback from the American Lung Association, and Patricia Melios from the American Heart Association all took the time to send us a letter of support.
Wonderful.
And also, I believe, is here also Carol Mescow, I think I'm saying that correctly, who I want to thank you because I know you helped us with the legislation banning in parks and on the beach and on the boardwalk, and you were with the Tobacco Action Coalition of Long Island. Is that right?
I'd love to speak.
I would love for you to come up and speak.
Thank you. And I share the platform with them. I admire so much here. Thank you very much. Actually,
Just state your name for the record.
Carol Meschkow, manager with the Tobacco Action Coalition, who is funded by the New York State Department of Health. And actually, in the statistics, it has to go through 11 levels of approval to come out with the stat shop that you referred to before, and it was very timely. It just came out, and actually the use of e-cigarettes just doubled according to that. But I'm going to keep this very brief because they have the science here. But it is the #1 preventable cause of death. The Surgeon General calls smoking a pediatric epidemic. Each year, 3,200 youth in the U.S. under the age of 18 become daily smokers. 1/3 will prematurely die. Tragically, our youth are often referred to by the tobacco lobby as replacement smokers. 96% as we said start before the age 21. My colleagues have mentioned that the adolescent brains are uniquely vulnerable to the effects of nicotine, and there is no product. 90% of the e-cigarettes have nicotine in them. Tobacco companies very, very strategically place most of the advertising in stores where 75% of the teens shop at least once per week, with 3 times more advertising near schools. The brain doesn't fully develop until the age 25, affecting critical decision-making and impulse areas. According to the EDC, e-cigarette use between 2011 and 2015 increased 10 times. Currently, there are 2.3 million high schools and 620,000 middle schools currently using electronic cigarettes. Now, a big argument we have faced many times, myself and my colleagues, is the military. Military leaders also recognize now, finally, the toll tobacco takes on troop readiness and on the military healthcare system, and are finally actively taking steps to reduce tobacco use. The Department of Defense estimates that 175 current active duty service members will die from smoking unless they're able to quit. After Hawaii raised the tobacco age to 21, the military bases opted voluntarily to comply with the higher age in recognition of its benefits. Alarmingly, there is 36 to 40% of those in the military who said they were initiated to the habit during their tour of service. Given everything we know about what smoking does to the body and our weakens our combat preparedness, they say it's unacceptable that their recruits are smoking. Rear Admiral John Fuller, Navy Region Hawaii and Naval Service Group, Middle Pacific said, I've heard this argument by some shipmates against cracking down on tobacco. If someone is young enough to die for their country, they should be free to be allowed to smoke. But turning that argument on its head, if someone is young enough to fight for their country, they should be free from addiction to a deadly drug. The benefits of the Tobacco 21, as they said, have been addressed state by 5 states already: Hawaii, California, New Jersey, Maine, and Oregon. But just now, there are 170 municipalities in 13 states, and locally in New York State, there are many jurisdictions, including Suffolk and New York City, and even more locally, Town of Hempstead, Town of North Hempstead, the villages of Wilson Park, Port Washington North, Baxter Estates, Great Neck Plaza, and others across the state with policy solutions. You'll be our first city, hopefully. Smoking is harmful to nearly every organ in the body, and young people who smoke are at risk for immediate health problems, as the doctors have said. So if current trends continue, 5.6 million of today's youth will die prematurely from smoking-related illness. So I thank you again for the opportunity to join my colleagues and stand here before you and offer these facts on the dangers of tobacco products and the youth. And I thank you for doing your due diligence and working so hard to educate yourselves and being on the forefront of the statistics. So I thank you again.
Thank you. Thank all of you for coming out tonight. Are there any comments from the public on this resolution? Yes, sir, please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Phil Konigsberg. You mentioned that you got the notice. If I could just read a brief, it's a 2-minute statement I'd like to do. My name again is Phil Konigsberg. I live in Bay Terrace, Queens. I'm with the Queens Tobacco Control Coalition, and also I founded a new organization. It's called the Bayside Smoke-Free Housing Alliance. I realize apartment buildings are not part of this legislation that you're considering, but down the road, as a volunteer, you might want to look into that, because people who live in apartment buildings do not have the opportunity to avoid secondhand smoke from others who do. I fully support the City of Long Beach to passing the minimum purchase age of tobacco that you're considering. Previously, I've testified in public hearings in New York City. We passed that a couple of years ago under the Bloomberg administration, and I've gone down to Trenton, New Jersey, when Governor Christie chose not to pass the bill that the Senate and that both houses had passed the previous year. I just want to let you know that Philip Morris document that was dated January 21st, 1986, explains why the tobacco industry is desperate to prevent the increasing trend of states and local venues from raising the minimum purchase age to 21. The document proclaims raising the legal minimum age for cigarette purchaser to 21 would gut our key young adult market, 17 to 20, where we sell about 25 billion cigarettes and enjoy a 70% market share. Published reports indicate that 90% of persons buying cigarettes for minors are in this age group. If the minimum age is raised to 21, then there will be a paradigm shift for those teens, and especially how 16 to 19-year-olds get their cigarettes. Clearly, those who are 21 are in different social circles and are either in their junior year at college or have been employed for 3 years and generally don't associate with 16 to 19-year-olds and are wise enough by then not to buy them cigarettes. As has been stated here before, several venues, both locally and state, have passed such minimum 21 purchase, and I encourage you to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. And I know, and I've just noticed that we have a person that I'd like to call up as well, and that's our own Judy Vining that's here. And I'm sorry I didn't see you there before. Judy has been instrumental for years now. We've known each other for, gosh, maybe two or three decades now. That in her work with underage drinking. Please,
2 or 3
you're
decades.
welcome.
I have been on a panel last night in East Rockaway on vaping that Senator Kaminsky sponsored, and that's kind of how he introduced me. He's been doing this for decades. So I think, what, decades? Really? Okay. It's no surprise that we are fully in support of this. We've always taken the approach as a coalition when we were in the medical center. Originally, we were part of the Tobacco Action Coalition when Susan Kennedy was in charge of it. So we have always taken the environmental approach. We know that policy is what moves the needle. We know that in terms of underage drinking, other drug use, and we certainly know that in terms of nicotine. Our position, and one of the things we talked about last night, because our schools are being hit and hit hard, not just Long Beach, at all. East Rockaway, Lynbrook, Oceanside, Rockville Center, with vaping. And that's been a really big issue, and what has been sold, in a sense, to kids is that you're not smoking. You know, it's better. I know someone was here at the last council meeting. I wasn't, but I did hear, you know, her talk about that now in New York City, you know, kids are forced to smoke again. Well, the one statistic I'm going to throw at you tonight is that in the Surgeon General's 2016 report of the youth who do vape, 58% of them also do combustible tobacco. So, you know, it's not exclusive. The other thing about vaping is even if nicotine is one of the most highly addictive substances we know of, so yes, you eliminate the tar, you add other chemicals in as well with flavoring, and there's a whole series that doctors can tell you a lot better than I could about the end results of that, including a new, old concept called popcorn lung. But the point is, we have to make it more difficult for kids to get their hands on it. Limiting access is a really big piece of any environmental. When I say environmental, I'm not talking about trees at this point. I'm talking about policies that change behavior. If the goal at the end of this resolution and others we may look at in terms of other things is to change behavior, then we need the policies to both be enacted and enforced. And so we absolutely congratulate you guys for doing this, and anything we can do to help, we're happy to do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank all of you. Thank you, Judy. And again, any other comments from the public on this resolution number 3 regarding cigarette smoking and cigarette purchases in the age of 21?
I just want to thank each of you, both Dr. Shaz, Dr. Fagan, you as well, for your advocacy on this issue, for bringing it to us. As the daughter of a lifelong smoker who began smoking in high school, I can tell you I've watched the person struggle for their entire life attempting to quit smoking, not quit smoking, back and forth, and the health impacts are very apparent. So I think it's important that we all take the time, and you certainly have, and I thank you again for bringing this to our attention at this time, and in particular for bringing a lot of the education and some of the statistics to us. I was shocking in my discussion with you, Dr. Fagan, regarding vaping and some of the targeting that's taken place and ensuring that younger children find it appealing, whether it be through certain flavoring and certain targeting. So I appreciate all of that as well, and I think it's important for the public to understand that it really is an issue. It's not just simply, while the impact might not be as apparent as smoking, there really is an issue with vaping and e-cigarettes and our young children. So thank you very much for bringing that to us as well.
Please have your loved one hit on Department of Health for resources to quit one, please.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you again for coming out tonight. And with that, folks, I'm going to close the hearing.
Okay, on to the regular calendar. Item 1 is the ordinance authorizing financing for the cost of payment of settled claims against the city in the matter of Marshall Starkman versus City of Long Beach, stating the estimated total cost thereof is $56,000, appropriating said amount therefore, and authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $656,000 bonds of said city to finance said appropriation. The hearing has been held on this item already. Item 2 is a resolution approving the application to the Landmarks Preservation Commission to designate 350 East Market Street as a city landmark. A hearing has been held on this item already. Item 3 is a local law amending subpart C of related acts relating to the charter of the city of Long Beach regarding a local law to prohibit the sale of tobacco products, liquid nicotine, and electronic cigarettes to persons under 21. The hearing has been held on this item already. Item 4 is a resolution authorizing settlement of certiorari proceedings.
Okay. And these are the annual anticipated settlements, and we're budgeted for in the current fiscal year. I'm going to ask the tax assessor to give us a very brief overview of the items on the docket.
The first case is Monroe Beach, I believe. That's the apartment building on the boardwalk of Monroe Boulevard. There's negotiations based on the rents over the past few years. We came to a settlement to lower the value and cash settlement. And the other property is the Stop and Shop strip mall that has had 2 vacancies over the years. We negotiated and we came up with just a lump sum payment. No change to the assessed value.
Any comments on this item number 4 from the council?
I would just like to comment, I see it says it, but these have been budgeted for, and
Yes, they have.
Okay. Any other comments from the public on item number 4, and taxing and values and so on? Okay, with that, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing a correction of error appearing on the 2017-18 assessment rolls of the city of Long Beach.
Okay, it's been identified by the city's tax assessor that a clerical error exists on the assessment tax rolls for a property, requiring the city to authorize a refund and make a correction.
This is the property that was formerly wholly exempt, that was subdivided and sold off as Authorizing the Issuance, and when the computer calculated pro rata taxes, it used the assessment of the entire property, not just the vacant parcel on Beach Street that was sold. So this is correcting pro rata taxes on the current tax bill.
I see. Okay, that's very good. Good catch there, and thank you. Okay, any other comments from the council on this catch by our tax assessor? How about a comment from the public on the presentation you just got on item number 4? Okay, we're going to move on. Yes, Mr. Frazier.
Okay. Item 6 is a resolution authorizing the retention of expert consultants and witnesses.
All right. This too is a very, that's right. Keep it. Wait a moment.
Councilmember Diamond has recused herself from this item.
Beginning again, this too is a very well-publicized case that got underway in 2004. The reality extends back to the 1980s. Last summer, the Appellate Division issued a decision upholding a default judgment that was rendered against the city in 2015. It's also well documented that the plaintiffs are seeking $50 million in damages in this land use case. But here's what gets lost in translation. A default judgment does not mean that the case is over. It means that you move on to the next phase of the litigation where damages are assessed. To date, the plaintiffs have not offered one shred of evidence to support their allegation that they are entitled to $50 million or anything remotely close to that for that matter. That's to be determined at a damages inquest where the city will need expert witnesses to testify on its behalf. As I mentioned a moment ago, over the summer, the Appellate Division upheld the default judgment against the city. Just last week, the city learned that its motion to have the case heard by the New York State Court of Appeals, the highest court in New York State, was also denied. That decision, just so that everyone is clear, was expected, and I wouldn't want anyone laboring under the false impression that the city was just somehow sitting around biding its time while waiting. As the council is well aware at this point, we quietly sprang into action The second, that default judgment was upheld over the summer. In fact, I personally spent the last 4 months or so interviewing experts, not only to determine their qualifications, but to identify each of our separate damages defenses. What I learned during this process was as follows. We have quite a few defenses, some of them extremely compelling, which extend across an array of different fields and disciplines. While I can't tonight fully describe those fields because I don't want to say anything that might tip the city's hand in litigation, I will say this. There are only a few large firms that have the capability of developing and presenting those defenses at trial. KPMG is one of the 4 largest accounting firms in the country, and their real estate consulting group possesses that level of expertise. That is the department within KPMG that we are retaining. I also discovered that we have at least one defense, if not more, that requires technical expertise in the various subfields of construction management. That is why I reached out to the firm of Cash and Spinelli Ferretti, who served as our technical consultants on the city's property damage claim following Sandy. This firm had the knowledge and the expertise to evaluate over 40 separate and diverse city properties, from boardwalks to playgrounds to garages to wastewater treatment facilities to water purification facilities. Because of those evaluations, the city was able to recoup the full $10 million flood sublimit under the policy within an astounding 30 days of the storm. It's been discussed before, and I'll say it again. That $10 million payment literally kept the lights on in this place after Sandy. The firm was also instrumental in recovering an additional $800,000 in business interruption losses after the carrier initially denied our claim, after Sandy. Therefore, this firm's bona fides are already established, and we have a great witness there who's going to be testifying on our behalf. And the same goes for KPMG. Now, let me say this. I've been working with this city council and city manager for quite a while. I'm sure none of you would necessarily accuse me for an optimist. But on the spectrum, on the damages spectrum in this case, between $1 million and $50 million, I can tell you, I can represent to you that we should be much closer to the former than the latter. But we have to be completely buttoned up on this case. We have to be pitch perfect from here on out, no mistakes. We do that now by bringing in the heavy hitters to fight off the big lawsuit. That's why this item is so critical to not only the case, but it's critical to the city. This is a very pivotal moment for the city. While the plaintiffs are still busy using their armada of attorneys to litigate this case in the press, we have been working this case. And while, believe me when I say we have a very long way to go, I truly believe that we are going to be okay with this case in the end. If we adopt this item, I urge the council in the strongest possible terms to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Agostisi. You know, as a former zoning board member, and I was present when this lawsuit was initiated, and I currently am a defendant, I am going to follow exactly as you're saying. I will not make any comment other than that. Are there any comments from the council? Any comments from the public on this outside consultants issue and this Haberman case? Okay, we'll start here, then we'll go to Mr. Agostisi. Go ahead. Welcome.
Good evening, Council. Mike Delory, Long Beach, New York. Has the legal fees been budgeted for in this budget year for this this firm or firms? Do you know that you would be aware of?
Most of the funds in my line are really designated for this case. And there have been some carryover funds from year to year, but it's very difficult to determine where, like, this case has so many tentacles, and there's a related case, a collateral case in Supreme Nassau also that's affecting timing and sequence of this case. So it's very difficult to determine what budget cycle we're going to need to expend the funds in.
Okay.
We anticipate we have enough within my line right now to account for this year's budget.
For this year's budget, but this could be a multiple budget year.
I can virtually guarantee you it will be.
Okay. The other question I have is, why would Councilwoman Diamond recuse herself? Cannot be answered.
I can answer that in part. I've recommended the Councilwoman Diamond recuse herself based on fact pattern.
I can hear you.
Sorry. I have recommended, I have advised Councilwoman Diamond to recuse herself based on the fact pattern in this case. I'm not really at liberty to say.
Understood.
But it's coming from full council.
Under council advisory, okay. Related, should there be a settlement, that means she's a city councilwoman, she could not vote on the settlement?
Since she's recusing herself on these items, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. It's good to see you, and thank you. Thank you for being here. Any other comments? I think Mr. Assis.
Hello again.
Yes, yes, welcome.
This has been going on quite some time with that developer, okay? I'm sure if you go down and sit down at the table, okay, there's the Durst, the powerhouse developers, is huge developers. And this gentleman is one of them. We've got powerful lawyers, they know what they're doing. If you sat down at the table, I'm positive he'll withdraw that $15 million judgment against the city if you negotiate with the man. This is what they do. I work for Bovis and Turner. Global. They asked me to go to Dubai. I will not work in Dubai. Okay? No Middle Eastern countries. That's my right. But if you sit down and negotiate with them, this project should have been moved forward already. I know the city, the homeowners here complaining. Oh, the ice, the other. Okay, everybody lifted their house and they added square footage. So their taxes are going to go up too. And they're talking about overbuilding of the city. Overbuilding of the city. They're up here complaining and they added another 1,200, 800 square feet. I met with PSC&G executives. They got to update the power grid from 1930s here. It's going to cost millions because the central air added square footage to their houses, garages that they don't use in the summertime. They park on the street and save for their friends to come out on the summertime. Some people don't have parking garages in the West End. They got to shuffle all the way up to Magnolia and take a bus home. But you sit down behind closed doors with the attorneys and you litigate this thing. You negotiate and tell them, look, if you drop this, we'll do this. You got to give something to get something back. That's the rules and laws. You're an attorney. You're an attorney. Come on. You're attorneys. These powerful, look, Paul Motley, Ripken, and Burnham, my attorneys. Okay? Those are powerful attorneys. They sue pharmaceutical companies. They sue everybody. They occupy 7 floors in the Empire State Building. Okay? $1 billion deals. $1 trillion deals. This has got to go on. You're losing revenue, tax revenue on that superblock building. Every building you deny to go up, you can't stop progress. There's land there, there's revenue to be made on taxes, okay? And people are coming out here, all right? So this should be worked out, and this should be put to bed. But you shouldn't pay that $50 million. There's a way around it. Forgive the $50 million if we do this. Negotiate it. No?
Thank you.
Yeah, just to be clear, Mr. Arcis, there is no $50 million judgment. That's why I mentioned that there in my presentation. There is a default judgment and a claim that's still totally unsubstantiated.
Yes, sir.
That the plaintiffs are entitled to $50 million.
Yes, sir.
And they haven't begun to prove that yet.
What right? Was there a time frame for an appeal for that?
Well, let's put it this way. We're about to start, if the current...
Well, the appellate court.
We're about to start the damages inquest. Will that
I know law a little bit.
Yeah, no,
I sued Verizon in the city, $82 billion company in downstairs. for $5,000 this summer. 4 lawyers, $82 billion. You know the executive called me, he wants to give me a job. I'm not a lawyer, I'm a structural engineer. But I was going to be an attorney. I'm best friends with the governor.
Made the right choice.
I'm best friends with Andrew Cuomo. He grew up next to my grandmother. His parents married him.
Okay, thank you. Mr.
But
Russell, thank you so much.
But I'm just trying to say, negotiate the deal, put it to bed.
We appreciate what you're saying. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Aziz. Okay, are there any other comments from the public on this item? Okay, with that, we're going to move on to our next item.
Okay. Item 7 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to amend the agreement with Lero Engineers for construction supervision services for street tree planting. Mr. Mandel has recused himself from this item.
Okay.
Okay, over the course of the project, the scope of professional services was expanded, requiring additional work to be performed. Funds are available in the capital improvement plan.
Okay, do we have an idea of how many trees we're talking about? What exactly?
I'll ask Commissioner Mandel to give a very brief overview.
Welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you. Good evening. I'll try to cover this best I can because this really goes back to the 2013 replanting of trees citywide after Sandy. It was brought to my attention recently by Lero that there was some outstanding change orders that were never approved by the council, Lero in the amount of $160,000. I did reach out to the former Commissioner of Public Works, had them sit down with Lero, and what we determined that the former commissioner had approved, in fact, change orders worth a value of $115,000 for previous work that's already done. This was for the complete citywide replanting after Sandy. I don't have the numbers offhand on how many trees involved, but there was still $187,000 in the project plan for this, and we, settled with Lero on $115,000. So
I see. So just for clarity for me, an amount was set for the planting of trees and also for the removal of the dead trees.
correct.
Is the removal of the dead trees over and done with? In other words,
The removal from that contract on dead trees is done, yes, but we presently have another contractor working on a more recent contract,
okay.
Planting trees that we've been supervising with our in-house people.
Okay.
And as you can see, as you've gone through the wall and stuff, they've been in to maintain those trees, put in the mulch piles and things of that nature.
Is there anything that we can say to residents regarding the dead trees, the dead sycamore trees that are falling apart?
If it's a dead tree in front of their home, unfortunately the homeowner is responsible for it. If it's a tree that was replaced in Sandy, they're now responsible for it because enough time has gone by. The trees that the contractor just recently planted are guaranteed for 2 years. If they should die in the next 2 years, then the contractor will be back to replant them. But this is a completely separate contract.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I'm sorry I don't have more information on it, but it's really...
No, it's all right, Commissioner. The only reason why I bring that up is because I get many questions about, what happens to these old trees that are branches falling on cars and could injure someone. And of course, we have to do this with the new trees and the planting. You're absolutely right.
And if a homeowner determines to take a tree down, they need to come into the building department, take out a permit, and they need to show that the tree actually is indeed dead. So.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's good. Any comments from the council on this item? How about comments from the public? Yes, we have. Yes. How are you, Ms. Blanchett? Welcome.
Where's Scott?
You recused yourself.
Why?
Not in a position to say.
I'm so confused. Usually, I haven't seen anyone recuse themselves in a while. But usually you say why, and you I'd just like to know, is he, because you're about to vote on something, like a lot of money,
Is he tied to Lero? Is he tied to trees? Does he, I like a lot, what's his tree thing?
You know what you might be able to do is ask him during good and welfare. I'm just not authorized. I didn't talk about this with him before the meeting tonight, so I'm not authorized to say.
Well, does the rest of the council know? You guys are about to vote on something, and you just left, and we don't. And he said he couldn't tell us. I mean, I just want to, I genuinely want to know. Did he get campaign contributions from Lero? Because if so, then I applaud him for recusing himself. I'd like to actually say thank you for doing that. If that's why you
You'll have the
left.
opportunity to serve a few minutes.
But before you guys vote on this, don't you want to know why this, why your colleagues up here are recusing them? Like, we should know that. This should be a I'm sorry, didn't we just have an election and everyone talked about transparency? And should we be trying to restore trust in government? So, why are people stepping away? And why aren't you telling us? I mean, I'm not, angry about that. I mean, I'm angry about not knowing why, but I don't understand why you're just not, why did you leave the room?
Again, you asked that
What's the
question.
connection? Well, I would actually like to make a recommendation to this council right now to not vote on either of these until we know why you left the room. Unless you guys already know this. Anthony, do you know why they left?
From council's advice, yeah.
So every council group, I'm not aware of it.
I'll speak only for myself. I sought the advice of council and asked what the appropriate thing to do was, and I received it. And I'm assuming that's
okay. Well, we just want. I mean, people here voted for you. We pay for you. This is our
I understand. We all understand our legal
So-
obligations as to what we have to disclose pursuant to the law.
Right. Well, I mean,
I sought the advice. Hold on, let me finish. I sought the advice of council and made a decision to recuse on the item. I think that we all have a responsibility to recuse on things that we believe we can't vote on. So I think that is actually transparent. We're not sitting here and engaging in things that we can't do. So,
did you get campaign money from these people? Or you work?
my campaign contribution.
And that's fine if
My campaign
Will you
contribution.
shut up?
My campaign disclosures. Excuse me.
Can you
The
tell that guy to
campaign-
shut up?
Yeah.
Okay. But as far as Scott Mandel goes, he recused himself, and we just want to know. And I'm going to ask the rest of you, could you please just not vote on this until we know? Because if you're voting on
I don't
contracts.
think that request has any basis, sound basis to it.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm a resident, and I just want to know why people are leaving the room.
People recuse themselves to preserve the city's legal position, not to put it in a position where there's a conflict of interest.
Okay.
It's designed to protect the city. That's why council members occasionally recuse themselves on items. And what I would say to the city council is, if you feel this item has merit, then vote for it. And if you don't, then don't. But have a vote on the item.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I just make a recommendation moving forward that if you're going to recuse yourself, then tell us why? I don't think that that's a really difficult request.
Okay, we'll take that under advisement. Thank you, Allison. And just because you didn't ask me, I have no idea why Mr. Mandel recused himself. So, and again, I appreciate your comments. Are there any other comments on this item, folks? Okay. With that, we're going to move on to our next item. Mr. Frazier, I guess we'll have to get Mr. Mandel.
Okay, item 1 is an ordinance authorizing financing for the cost of payment of settled claims against the city in the matter of Marshall Starkman versus City of Long Beach, stating the estimated total cost thereof is $656,000, appropriating said amount therefore, and authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $656,000 bonds of said city to finance said appropriation. Motion to move the adoption of this item.
I'll introduce that.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilman Diamond.
Yes.
Councilman Mandel.
Yes.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Vice President Eramo.
Yes.
President Torres.
Yes.
Item 2 is a resolution approving the application to the Landmarks Preservation Commission to designate 350 East Market Street as a city landmark. Just move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second.
First of all, I just want to applaud the homeowner for taking the steps at the time to preserve the history of Long Beach. It makes it difficult for you at times, but it's really something that's very special for our city. So I thank you, and I vote yes.
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 Ms. O'Leary, I too would like to thank you for preserving a small piece of Long Beach's history. I vote yes.
I particularly am very proud of Ms. O'Leary. Thank you. Thank you. We believe in that preserving Long Beach and its history and its wonderful landmarks is critical. And you're a brave lady, Ms. O'Leary. You're a very pleasant neighbor. Thank you. And my vote is absolutely yes.
Okay, item 3 is a local law amending subpart C of related acts relating to the charter of the City of Long Beach regarding a local law to prohibit the sale of tobacco products, liquid nicotine, and electronic cigarettes to persons under 21. The adoption of this item.
I will.
First of all, I want to applaud Councilman Eramo for taking the leadership on this item and kind of pushing it through the process so that we got it done as quickly as possible. Look, we all understand the statistics. We've all seen the studies, and this is a step that we can take to ensure that our young people are safer and that we keep cigarettes away and cigarette products or tobacco products away from young people. So again, I want to thank both Dr. Shaw, Dr. Fagan, Ms. Vining, as well as you for all of your leadership on this issue. It's really an incredibly important initiative, and I just want to thank you, and I happily vote yes.
I too want to thank all of the doctors and the advocates for bringing this to our attention and helping us become more sensitive to this issue. I'm thrilled Long Beach can be a part of moving this crucial legislation forward. I absolutely vote yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a statement that the City of Long Beach is committed to improving the quality of life for our teens as well as our young adults. And over 220 cities in over 17 states, including New York, have raised the legal minimum age for all tobacco and nicotine products to the age of 21. This legislation tonight that's been proposed can potentially reduce youth experimentation, thus reducing the chances for addiction. I'm proud to be a part of a city that is committed to taking the necessary steps forward in tobacco prevention, as well as education, awareness initiatives to empower our most vulnerable population. I look forward to working with Dr. Fagan as well as Dr. Shaw's, and also all of Long Beach Aware and all of the other practitioners as we move forward in empowering our young people. And once again, I state that I vote yes.
I would like to thank Dr. Fagan, Dr. Shaw, and all the other advocates, Mrs. Judy Vining for all your work. And I guess the one statistic that I keep coming back to is 90% of nicotine addicts started before they were age 21. 90%. I'm proud to be in this city, and I'm proud to vote yes.
Yeah, as an outgoing city councilman, and I have to say that this kind of legislation is really long overdue. I am very proud and very confident that as I leave the city council, that these kinds of decisions, these values that are being set forth by this council have really placed the city in good hands. And I feel very confident that that's exactly what will happen. My vote is yes.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing settlement of sociality proceedings.
Alan?
Voting. Councilmember Diamond.
Yes.
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 Item 5 is a resolution authorizing a correction of error appearing on the 2017-18 assessment rolls of the City of Long Beach.
I will.
I will. Yes.
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 Item 6 is a resolution authorizing the retention of expert consultants and witnesses. Item 7 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to amend the agreement with Lero Engineers for construction supervision services for the street tree plan. Introduce for the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second.
I'll second that.
Voting, Councilmember Condon.
Yes.
Councilmember Moore.
Yes.
Vice President Eramo.
Yes.
President Torres.
Yes.
City manager's monthly personnel report has been filed by the city clerk. Who will make a motion to close the meeting?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Condon.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Moore.
Yes.
Vice President Eramo.
Yes.
President Torres.
Yes.
So that's the end of our official meeting for those that don't normally attend our meetings. Now we have Good and Welfare, which is an opportunity for residents to speak to the council on whatever they like. 3 minutes of uninterrupted time. And in the words of our president, Mr. Torres, we always show respect and maintain decorum at all times. Once again, Mr. Patrick Arcese.
As we know, I was in construction.
Yes.
In the beginning of the summer, I came and thanked all the city council members and the city manager on the beautiful boardwalk that they did, and a fine job he did on the recovery of Sandy. Right after that, somebody put on, it was brought to my attention, because I don't play on this little cyberspace game here, but it was brought to my attention, because it's streamlined, I gather, right? Somebody brought to my attention that somebody put on there that I was arrested for drunk driving. In the 80s, I was a drug trafficker in Miami. Okay. That I was a very bad person, and I was a Republican. Well, I'm a Democrat. I'm a Democrat. Okay? My father was a Democrat. Like I said, my grandparents are Democrats, friends with the Como's grandparents. Let me tell you something. The President of the United States had his hand delivered to Florida Street. In 2012, Barack Obama signed by him and Michelle on Oval Office stationery. Where's the camera? He's a Democrat, and he's an American. I'm a 9/11 hero. I'm not a hero. That's something you buy in the supermarket or a deli. I'm a human being. I'm a human being. I spent 6 months. I was a first responder doing De Niro's apartment. Ran down there. 2 of the guys I worked with died from cancer. This is my 3rd bout with cancer. I just got diagnosed Monday. They said, you're in big trouble. I know it. So that's all right. I'm a human being. In 2002, I spent 6 months there, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, without travel, until I couldn't take it anymore. But I resent what they did. And I reported to the FBI, and they found out who did it. And we confronted them. They almost died. So, okay? So you can do what you want, write what you want on the internet. I am not going to sue them, and I'm not going to take their houses. All right? In 2002, I saved 2 police officers from getting killed from gang members. Amherst 13 before they realized they were in Manhattan at 2 in the morning. I got a $5,000 reward. I testified. They got 25 years to life for trying to kill a cop, trying to kill a civilian for $20. The judge wanted to meet me. Ray Kelly wanted to meet me. I just wanted to go home. I'm not a hero. I'm a human being. I see somebody getting hurt. I don't care what you are. I'm going to intervene. Police officer, civilian, I do what I have to do. But I caught the person, and I don't think they'll be writing anything badly about anybody anymore. They're liars. All lies. Just had to go through 5 Secret Service. They hand-delivered it to my house. I had to show them my driver's license. Congratulations, Jack, and I wish you the best of luck, and I know you'll do well over there. And then Torres, he teaches college, I know. I hope he can help his own people with Andrew Como with Puerto Rico. And I wish everybody the best. Diamond, Moore, and everybody. Mandel, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, great job. 52 years I lived in the West End.
Thank
We
you.
couldn't find a good place to skateboard. Now we can skateboard and ride bikes. Smooth ride.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done. And,
Gotta get rid of that
good
8
luck.
time, huh?
And good luck with your next battle that you told us about. Thank you.
My granddaughter's play was unable to fill out one of those forms.
I'm sorry.
I was at my
Mr. Bernardino.
granddaughter's play and got delayed, so I couldn't fill it out. If possible, could I also be added to the list?
I'm sorry, we cannot.
You cannot.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Ms. Allison Blanchett? Please state your name for the record.
Allison Blanchett.
Thank you.
The guy made me look normal. Scott, why did you recuse yourself?
Sure. If it's up to
Thank you.
Okay.
So, about 4 years ago, I was advised by a distant relative out east that he was looking to get a job with Eramo. At that point, was told he was hired by Eramo, and ever since that, I'm sure since you've come to council meetings, you're aware, I've always recused. I don't know if he's still employed by Eramo. I haven't spoken to him in about 3 years, just to avoid the appearance. I always recuse on Eramo items. I also don't publicly share it because I don't want to influence any vote the council would have. They know I have a relative working for Eramo. So I simply walk away, as I've done over the last X years, on any item for Eramo.
I just want to thank you for doing that, for recusing yourself, even though you're not sure if the person's working there or not. I wasn't sure if it was a campaign contribution or something that you might have gotten and realized
No
it
such
was
thing.
weird. No? Okay. I just wanted to say thank you on doing that. It wasn't very difficult to answer. And any
It was
interest
his
in...
prerogative to answer.
Okay.
That's the point.
Okay, all right. Chumi, I was wondering if you would have any interest in explaining why you recused yourself.
I mean, I recused on the item because I'm a tenant in a building that's owned by the plaintiff in that matter. I have a signed lease with them that I sign annually, and thought it was inappropriate to vote on something when I have that.
That's completely fair. Thank you very much for sharing that. And where's Len? Why is everyone walking away? Everyone's just all over the place. Where did you go?
All Len told me was he had to leave.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for answering.
Next up, Mindy Dunbar. Dunberg, I think.
How are you guys?
Good. Please just state your name for the record.
My name is Mindy Dunberg. Good to see you guys. Hello, everybody behind me. Hello, everybody online. I just wanted to, I brought this up months ago in the summer, and I wanted to bring up again, since it is winter and I know it's beautiful weather outside, but I wanted to bring up the parking spots for the handicap parking spots for the snow removal. I just wanted to make sure this winter there's no snow in the parking spots. Not in the Rite Aid parking spot, not in Stop and Shop, not on Broadway, not in the West End. We just need to make sure that the snow is put someplace else. I've noticed that there's lots and lots of red handicap placards, which means there's people with acute injuries walking around, and I don't want them slipping and falling, having to walk around, having to look for another parking spot. Those spots are there for people, and there should not be snow in them. And I have pictures from last winter, and I will send them to you.
Yes,
I don't think I need to send them to you because I'm sure you guys have seen them.
we were aware of some of the issues last year, and I can assure you that this year, the departments that do our plowing, which is our outside departments, are all aware of it. It's beach maintenance, sanitation, and highway. say City Hall.
Why do they put them there? I mean, is there not a place to put the snow?
I think it's just because it usually is on the corner, so they usually push the snow to the corner. Without,
Okay.
you know, and you can't really see the spots because everything's covered in snow. But
Right, but they obviously plow the regular spots, so they just need to, I understand. They just need to make those a priority too.
Correct.
That's all I'm saying.
Correct.
Okay.
Just be aware that they're there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Phil Schlitz.
My name is Phil Schlitz, 365 East Walnut Street, Long Beach. Okay, this past year has been difficult for many people, but there are many good things that have happened. Unfortunately, we're going to lose the city manager, and I personally would like to thank him for all that he has done. People should realize what he has really done as far as saving the city. And he will truly be missed, but he will be in our memory and in our hearts, and maybe we'll build a statue towards him.
I'm not dying.
And he still lives here.
No, and I also wanted to mention that we all are thankful for all of the city council members, and that we have elections, and this city has elected Democrats again. I am a proud Democrat. I don't have a problem saying that. And I think that we have to concern ourselves about the issues for next year. And I fully believe that you will speak for the people. And some people just don't get it. Decisions are made by you, but you are the elected people. And I thank you for that. I might not agree with everything, but so be it. Those are the laws. And I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday, no matter what religion, faith, anything. Just have a happy new year, and we're going to get started first of the year. We have new goals that we have to attain. And I would like to again thank Councilman, City Councilman Eramo for helping me in my defibrillator issues, and I hope to have other issues that can affect for the betterment of the people of this town instead of antagonizing on what happened in the past. We have to stick to the future. And I am looking forward to that with this city council. And again, I wish you all a happy holiday. And all the people behind me who might not agree with me, I have a right to speak. They have a right to speak. So I took my time for what I would like to say. And have a happy holiday. Thank you.
Happy holidays to you.
Thank you, Mr. Schlitz. And we all do love Long Beach for sure. Next, we have Ms. Nora Egan. Good evening. Just state your name for the record. Thank you.
Nora Egan. So 2 weeks ago when I was here at the last council meeting, I brought up an issue about the train station, and I had said that I had sent all of you guys an email, and none of you seem to have got it. So on December 1st, I had sent to Mr. Mirando an email about something else, and today I was just going through my spam folder, and I found a message that I just didn't have time to print off at work for you to see, but it said that that my email was blocked by the email security gateway, so it wasn't delivered. So are residents' emails being blocked?
No.
Is there a way that I can find out, or do we have an IT?
Our IT guy is not here right now, but they should not be blocked in any way.
So I don't know when I sent you guys an email, because I don't go through my spam like everybody else does. So I don't know if I got the same response, you know, when I sent it to you guys.
Right.
So I just happened to find this today.
Okay.
So I can't be the only one that this happens to, I hope. So who is the IT person?
I
home security device, and it evaluates. It's a very complex process that it goes through to evaluate. Sometimes some messages do get caught in the spam filter. But if you make us aware of it, I'll go in and search for it. I can mark them off as not spam, so they won't get blocked in the future.
Okay. Okay.
It does happen. It's unfortunately we get thousands upon thousands of pieces of spam each day.
I'm sure.
Unfortunately, every now and then, one that's not spam will get caught by the filter, and if it's brought to our attention, we can usually make the adjustments so that the one we have to do it.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm just curious. It seems just based on I guess like over a year that I've been on the council that you've sent messages in the past. Is this the first time that you've noticed that your messages are bouncing back? Have you received messages in the past, or?
No, I mean, I have received replies from you before, and then the one that I didn't was about the train station issue, which the last city council meeting was 2 weeks ago, and I had sent it about a week prior, and I didn't hear back from anybody.
Right.
And I was just thought it was personal. And then this one I just happened to catch today, but I had sent it to Mr. Mirando on December 1st, now the 5th.
Right.
So, like I said, I don't know if I lost it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll search on this.
Okay, thank you.
Can you read it fine?
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Mr. Michael Dory.
I think that was me.
Sorry.
Sorry.
It's the chair.
Good evening, Council. I'll make this brief, quick. There was just a request for a stop sign, or actually it's really a stop written on the corner of New York and Olive, similar to what they have on Ocean View. It was a request at a meeting we had. I don't know if it'll work. It's something that may prevent people from coasting through and continuing northbound on New York Avenue when they, by Neoposto there. That's only a request. I don't know if it has to wait till spring when the weather's nicer.
You brought this up. I'll give it to the police commissioner and have him take a look at the location and see if it's smart for us to do that. So thank you.
On a personal note, I'd like to publicly thank Glenn for his service here. Jack, for your service. I know you came here, and then all of a sudden Sandy hit, and I'm sure you had a lot of things that you wanted to do in mind, and then all of a sudden, crisis mode. Good luck to you in your future. Thank you, Scott, for clarifying what you just did. As far as, I know you didn't have to, but it's nice to hear an explanation. And congratulations, Chumi and Scott, on your election, and thank you for clarifying. It makes a hell of a lot of sense. Okay, and Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, healthy New Year to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's it for this evening. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. Our last meeting of the year will be 2 weeks from now, December 19th. Everybody get home safe.